there are plenty of entrepreneurs writing algorithms, doing code, coming up with novel ideas that does not require a large corporation. And they're agile and they're hungry to do something. And so that's really powerful, moving quickly and at the speed at which Sofwerx and ThunderDrone want to move.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 141. Do you have an idea that could provide benefits to our military? Then you're going to be really excited to hear what today's guests have to say. We're going to be hearing from three individuals who are part of an innovative technology transfer program in Tampa, Florida. Under an agreement with the U.S. Special Operations Command and the Doolittle Institute, Sofwerx was formed to act as an intermediary for collaborating with private industry, research labs, and academic partners in developing new technologies. In short, Sofwerx is a portal by which the commercial UAS industry can quickly access and jointly develop applications and technologies to solve the most pressing needs of special operations. Sofwerx is sponsoring a special program called ThunderDrone, a series of rapid prototyping events that focus on different aspects of drone technology. Industry and academia have been invited to submit their best ideas to the special operations community. Joining me in this episode is Kelly Stratton-Feix, Director of Acquisition Agility for the U.S. Special Operations Command, John Coglianese, ThunderDrone Lead at Sofwerx, and Captain Barron of the U.S. Air Force and ThunderDrone Project Manager. They'll be talking about Sofwerx, ThunderDrone, and how collaborations like this can benefit the commercial drone industry. Now, before we hear from the trio, I want to thank those of you who have been supporting my funding campaign on Patreon. For as little as $1 per month, you can help defray the costs of production and keep the podcast going and growing. Go to patreon.com/drone radio show to join the team. Now let's learn how the commercial drone industry can collaborate with experts to support our country's special operations community. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Kelly, John, and Captain Stone to introduce themselves.
This is Kelly Stratton-Feix. I'm the Director of Acquisition Agility for U.S. Special Operations Command, Acquisition Technology, and Logistics Center. My responsibilities include the program management and oversight of Sofwerx for U.S. SOCOM, and also looking at interesting ways that U.S. SOCOM can be more flexible and agile in our acquisition program.
This is John Coglianese. Randy, I am the Director of ThunderDrone, which is an activity that operates under Sofwerx. That activity is focused on drone technology in support of the operational warfighter.
And I'm Barron Stone. I'm an active duty captain in the Air Force. I'm not actually stationed at SOCOM. I'm over at the Air Force Technical Application Center, but I'm part of a few months long program getting experience as an acquisition officer, learning how SOCOM does things. And I was the lucky one who got to participate and help with Sofwerx. So I'm helping out with the next rapid prototyping event, the ThunderDrone efforts, which is focused on counter UAS. Okay,
let's start by talking about Sofwerx. Who can tell us what Sofwerx is and what it does?
Randy, Sofwerx is an open collaboration platform and ecosystem that's designed to bring non-traditional DoD entities, startup companies, entrepreneurs, academia, labs, and the government, other government agencies to work together on some of SOF's most challenging problems. We use Sofwerx really also as a tool for the acquisition community to do rapid prototyping, experimentation, and other activities to really discover the art of what's possible and to lower technical risk before we're making investment decisions.
Why was it formed? What problem was it designed to address?
We recognize that it's not always easy doing business with the government and especially doing business with the military. So we wanted to create an opportunity and a platform that would make it easier for folks that don't normally do business with the military, how they can connect with us. So we're not located on a military base. We don't have a lot of layers of bureaucracy to get to us. And we also recognize that there's a lot of creative and interesting innovation that's going on in the commercial market and in the startup market that just simply wasn't getting to the military and getting to SOCOM. Along with the rest of the DoD enterprise, we recognize that we need to start tapping into this really creative market, and Sofwerx is our platform for making it easier to get together, collaborate with us, with the military, with our special operations forces, and also just for companies to collaborate together.
If you had to choose a model that you're most closely aligned with, would it be more like an incubator model, a research lab, or something completely different?
That's an interesting question. I would probably say, we look at ourselves as a platform that kind of plugs into a lot of those different things in the sense that as a lab, we are bringing people together. We're doing rapid prototyping and experimentation. We have citizen scientists that are collaborating with us, other government agencies. So we are doing some scientific type of research and sharing that information. But I would also say, as an incubator, in that sense, we have some elements of that model in the sense that we do have entrepreneurs and startup businesses that have not been doing work with the government, and they find opportunities to collaborate with each other, and we are giving them feedback on their products, on their prototypes, and on their approaches. So it's definitely a great return for those companies to be interacting with us. But we do like to think that we are a pretty unique platform that is bringing the user and the supplier together and just closing that gap.
How is the organization established?
Sofwerx is established under a partnership intermediary agreement between U.S. SOCOM and the Doolittle Institute, who is also doing business as DefenseWorks. Doolittle Institute is a nonprofit that's based out of Walton Beach, Florida.
Now, we've mentioned SOCOM a few times. Just so everyone knows, what is SOCOM and its mission?
SOCOM is Special Operations Command, and we have our headquarters here in Tampa, Florida, where Sofwerx is located just about 10 miles down the road in Ybor City, Florida. SOCOM's mission is to synchronize the planning of special operations and provide special operations forces to the global combatant commanders.
So in other words, if SOCOM is looking for innovation or technology, or anything that might support their mission, does Sofwerx provide a vehicle to obtain that technology?
It's just another tool for SOCOM to use. So we have other acquisition tools that Special Operations Command uses through the acquisition center. And Sofwerx is kind of on that far left, leaning forward, looking at things that are in the emerging technologies as we're trying to get concept of ideas of how we're going to solve our problems. So it's definitely one of the tools that we use. We have other ways of going out and interacting with industry as well, or acquiring things. So Sofwerx is really just one of those tools that we're using in the discovery of getting the right solution to our operators.
Can you talk about the ecosystem at Sofwerx and what it offers?
We absolutely welcome all folks to join our open ecosystem at sofwerx.org, so SOFWERX.org. And there is a way for folks to sign up and be part of our ecosystem. It doesn't cost anything. They can join. They will understand what's going on at Sofwerx. They will get invites and announcements about what's going on. They can come and sign up for a tour and get a briefing to get all informed about the ways that they can interact and participate in what's going on in Sofwerx.
Okay, let's move on and talk about drones. Sofwerx is sponsoring something called ThunderDrone. Can you tell us about it?
Randy, this is John. ThunderDrone is an activity that is sponsored by the government under that same partnership intermediary agreement that Kelly discussed. So ThunderDrone is an activity under Sofwerx, and it is focused on drone technology. And that focus on the drone technology, the purpose is because our warfighters, now with the advancement of this commercial technology, it's small, it's relatively inexpensive, and it can do what I would call advanced functions relative to what our unmanned systems were doing years ago. So for a relatively small investment in a relatively small form factor, you can do some powerful things to support the warfighter. And then the other level of inquiry in terms of us looking for answers is the counter side of it. Because clearly in the news, it's been very well articulated in the media, those drones are also a threat. So we're looking for an investment in terms of ideation and thought to try to get ahead of that curve the best we can and give our operators perspective on how that threat is going to be used against them.
As I understand it, ThunderDrone is comprised of a series of rapid prototyping events to evolve the ideas. What are rapid prototyping events?
The rapid prototyping event is not exclusive to ThunderDrone. That is a function that Sofwerx performs, and they can perform it under any activity. But the concept is it starts with ideas and the presentation of technology, and it's a process to move quickly and expedite either whether it's development or integration, test or demonstration, or all of those things, and get to some level of a solution in a relatively expedited period of time. So when I say a relative solution, what I'm driving at, it doesn't have to be gold-plated, as we say. It doesn't have to be this 100% does everything. If you can, in a short period of time, either build a prototype or even demonstrate art of the possible, what you're doing is you're expediting the process to ultimately get to a reproducible, production-ready solution for the military operator.
Can you talk about the current event that Sofwerx is working on?
Sure, Randy. This is Barron. The next one is going to be our second rapid prototyping event, and it's focused on countering small unmanned aerial systems, so counter-drone. So we're really looking out there for what is available in technology. So we have a tech expo coming up at the end of January. We've already received all the submissions for that. And at this point, we've sent out invitations to companies. But we're looking at trying to bring in companies, everything from the traditional partners and defense companies that normally work with the military, university research groups, all the way down to local drone enthusiasts who are tinkering in their garage and have some crazy new idea that could be a breakthrough. So we'll be bringing them all together for the Tech Expo at the end of January. Their audience will be attendees from the government side, covering all branches of the services, all relevant parties that are interested in counter UAS, including we even have law enforcement, Department of Homeland Security. So they'll be able to show their technology to those government side people. They'll be able to capture feedback from the government and the actual war fighters, what they think about those technologies. And then coming out of that Tech Expo, we'll be down selecting based on that feedback from the war fighters, what we see as good pairings of groups and organizations. So again, we're not looking for people with the full start to finish counter drone system. We're looking for people with parts of the technology. So one small company might have a really good sensor, another company has a really good algorithm. Pair them together and we'll be able to do better things. So that'll lead to, over the next month or so, a tech sprint where they can work together to improve on their technology from the point at the Tech Expo. And then in the spring, we'll have an actual live outdoor demonstrations where people will be able to go out to a test range and actually implement those kinetic and non-kinetic counter-drone systems. And all of this is in support of U.S. SOCOM warfighters and also the Strategic Capabilities Office, really trying to hit all of our services, make sure that these drones, they impact everyone. So this is really a cross-service effort.
Has the deadline passed, or can people still send in their technology ideas?
For this current event that we have coming at the end of January, our deadline's already closed, but we do encourage people to keep engaged with future events that we have coming up in ThunderDrone, find out what's going on with the ThunderDrone effort, as well as all the other things Sofwerx has going on. The type of people who are drone enthusiasts, technology enthusiasts, there may be other Sofwerx efforts that appeal to them as well. So check it out. There's a lot going on, and they might find other things that they're interested in.
ThunderDrone doesn't terminate with RP2. It's not constricted in its reach. So if someone has a piece of technology, they absolutely have the opportunity via that website to submit it in a sense that expose Sofwerx to it, whether that's just send us, they can send us a note, they can send us to their website, they can even request by providing information to have a follow-on telecom with us. I would say to your listeners that it's not that we don't care about the physical vehicle, the drone itself. We do, and the drone does matter. But in terms of really where our focus is, it's the intelligence that is now going on the drone. So if you look at areas like swarming, artificial intelligence, autonomy, and the applications like in areas of counter UAS, that truly is the things that are capturing our attention. At some point, the drone is truly limited by what the commercial market provides, and there is a lot of them out there. So if you got something unique about the drone, we want to see it. I don't want to turn that off, but I do want to emphasize our core areas of interest.
And our end goal is really getting technology into the hands of the warfighter. So there is something interesting out there. Go to sofwerx.org, reach out to us. We want to know what you have. That is our primary focus.
Talk about the trade show that's coming up.
So we'll have vendors arriving on the 29th of January to set up the trade show. And then that evening, we're actually hosting what we're calling the Warfighter Experience. So getting several of our warfighters who have just come from downrange, have actually experienced firsthand dealing with these small UAS threats that we're looking at, being able to, in an unclassified environment, give their stories, their experiences, and directly interface with industry. And I see that as, especially for small companies or new startups that may not have that sort of interface with the military, this is really a good opportunity for them to get some, from the horse's mouth, direct information and feedback. And then the actual expo will run January 30th and 31st.
As I understand it, there's an event in Las Vegas later this year where the final selected teams will demonstrate their ideas. What's the process for narrowing down those teams?
The idea is to obviously walk the technology down that road, and that will be a process of what I would call multiple down selects. So out of the expo, we have government laboratories and government-funded technical organizations that are going to help us evaluate the state of the technology, as well as evaluating how we can assist industry in collaborating. What I mean by that is if we see a company in its simplest form who has a very interesting and maybe mature or strong potential in software, and we see a hardware company that together we feel could help build out great solutions, our technical assessors and evaluators are going to help make those pairings to assist industry in the collaboration. Once we down select out of the expo, we're going to move to an outdoor demonstration and again, raise the bar and provide us a relevant testing environment and now ask industry that's been down selected to demonstrate their technology. Once we are done there and we assess that, what the outcome, we will down select again, and then we will invite a small number, a handful of industry participants to the final, which is RPE3, and that does take place in the vicinity of Las Vegas. We do not have the date selected or the exact details, but that will be forthcoming once it's fully coordinated.
Are there any prizes or awards for the ideas that rise to the top?
Yes, there are prizes, and that is posted on the webpage for RPE2, which also includes all the instructions and the explanations. There will be a first, second, and third prize awarded at the culmination of RPE3.
What's the significance of an event like this to the commercial drone industry?
It's important for them to know what the event's about, but more importantly, I would say to know what ThunderDrone's about. Because of where we are in the calendar with this physical event, if they want to get involved or they want to participate, unfortunately, that window is closed through the process. But if they can educate themselves and just at least use this event as a tool to learn about us and watch what we're doing, then they're in our ecosystem. So again, go to that website, join the ecosystem, because Sofwerx, whether it's drone or non-drone related, I think many of your listeners will have an interest in either just following it or participating in it. And the last thing I would say that I want them to know is, although most of your listeners are in the area of the aerial drone, ThunderDrone is looking at vehicles that would be ground environments as well as maritime environments. So if one of your listeners had technology that related to an autonomous vehicle in the water, ThunderDrone absolutely would be interested in that technology.
Now, we've talked primarily about commercial ideas getting into the military environment. But is there an opportunity in this process where some of the new technology finds its way back into the commercial market?
Absolutely. One of the most powerful things about working with Sofwerx, not just ThunderDrone, is what you're driving at. So if you went to the government under normal, what I would say, the traditional means acquisitions, if the government gave you developmental money or RDT&E money, and when I say the government, let's say the Department of Defense, there are certain rules that apply to the intellectual property. So if the government's funding a company to develop technology, that company very likely, in most cases, is not going to own that intellectual property because they didn't develop it with their own money. If you engage with Sofwerx, the rules and the bounds are just legally different. So a small company could come here, have a bit of technology that needs to be demonstrated, and maybe receive a small amount of funding to take it to the next level. If that is something our government customers cared about, they could receive funding and still hold onto, based on their agreement with Sofwerx, intellectual property of that tech, and therefore then could turn it into a commercial enterprise.
This is actually your second rapid prototyping event for ThunderDrone. What was the first, and what did you learn?
The first rapid prototyping event, it was a learning experience as well for ThunderDrone. We opened up the aperture and really, it was titled The Art of the Possible. It's what's out there in the realm of drone technology that's new, novel, provocative, that we don't know about and could help our warfighters. So we had over 400 companies submitted technologies. We down selected from that, and they had the first ThunderDrone Tech Expo back in September of 2017. Over 100 companies came to present, and with over 200 government vendors and warfighters. And then based on the feedback from those warfighters, we down selected to about 32 companies, and they entered into a rapid prototyping sprint over the course of October, and then came back and competed in a final rodeo at the ThunderDrone facility. We went into this one sort of with an open mind of what's out there. So based on what we saw and based on what the warfighters' needs are, created several operational experiments or vignettes, things like taking off and landing from moving vehicles, being able to send a drone into a house or a room and map it out autonomously. So we had the companies came back and showcased all that technology at the final rodeo. And it was really impressive to see some of the, we call them collisions, or the way companies are able to join together and combine their technologies. So for example, there was one company that came to the Tech Expo. They have a technology that creates an unmanned base where drones can come, land. It's like an elaborate vending machine that plucks the old battery out of a drone and pops in a fresh one, and the drone can take off and continue on its mission while those batteries are cycled and charged at the base station. So that company, a small startup, were attending, and they were at the Tech Expo, happened to be in a booth right across from another company that had a small ground-based robot. And one of the folks from the ground robot company came over to the battery replacement company and said, hey, you got a pretty cool machine there. If you can put batteries onto drones, can you also put robots onto your drones? And they said, sure, why not? So over that 4-week tech sprint, they actually modified their system and integrated their technologies together. So now they have a system that can not only replace the batteries in drones, it can also load them up with these small ground vehicles so they can be forward deployed in places that operators previously may not be able to get close enough, or drop them on top of very tall buildings or other interesting places. And that was an organic collision. They just happened to be together next to each other at one of these tech expos and said, hey, you got something cool, I've got something cool. let's work together.
I know Sofwerx is a relatively young entity, but can you share some of the benefits that you're already deriving from the efforts?
We have a lot of interesting things that have happened at Sofwerx as far as we've used commercial technologies, just off-the-shelf commercial technologies in the drone area, but in other areas as well, handheld devices, communication devices. So we've been looking at a lot of different things that just come walking into our door and transitioning to other areas of interest.
Where does Sofwerx go from here?
We're pretty much in our infancy here. We've just got about 2.5 years under our belt. We are very interested in continuing to grow our ecosystem, to reach out and get all those creative entrepreneurial companies, small businesses, and folks that just in general we haven't been doing business with. So a big focus is going to be to continue to grow our ecosystem in the areas of emerging technologies and capabilities, areas of interest of SOCOM. So that's going to be a big focus, as well as also a big pivot amongst our acquisition workforce and the DoD community writ large in understanding how we can use Sofwerx as a tool to really accelerate decision-making, to lower technical risk before we start making investment decisions. So it's a continuous education for us to connect within our own community as well as across the department as well. So that's kind of a big area that we see that we will continue to grow and get better at. And, maybe in the future, how do we replicate this model across our SOCOM enterprise and maybe even across the DoD? We've had a lot of interest. I'm sure you're aware that, the Air Force has stood up AFWERX, and we do collaborate with them. And as we talked about RPE 3, we are collaborating with AFWERX to do the final rodeo there. So the Air Force is standing up a Sofwerx-like model, and we do work very well with all the other services that send reps here. So I would see in the future, this type of model, this platform, just being extrapolated to the larger DoD community.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about, either on ThunderDrone or Sofwerx?
The second rapid prototyping event, Counter UAS, we want to emphasize it's co-sponsored between the Office of Secretary of Defense, Strategic Capabilities Office, and U.S. SOCOM. That's important because the Strategic Capabilities Office provided funding to ThunderDrone to focus on that particular problem.
ThunderDrone is not just a SOCOM-specific effort. It is funded largely in part by the Strategic Capabilities Office, the Office of the Secretary of Defense. The reason that's important is it crosses all services. It is really a DoD-wide drones impact all of us, so it's something that we're all looking at and trying to improve and get the best tech into the warfighters across the services.
And for my last question, how would you characterize the opportunities that Sofwerx provides to the commercial drone industry? What can companies gain?
The opportunity is important in terms of SOCOM. We know we have to tap into the entrepreneurial spirit out there, particularly when you go back to what I said are some of our core interests, the swarming, the autonomy, the artificial intelligence. There are plenty of entrepreneurs writing algorithms, doing code, coming up with novel ideas that does not require a large corporation. And they're agile and they're hungry to do something. And so that's really powerful, moving quickly and at the speed at which Sofwerx and ThunderDrone want to move. So we want to capitalize on that. You hit on something, why it's important industry. It's constantly changing. And so if the model that they want to tap into does not move at that pace, it will fail. And so by tapping into a model, i.e. Sofwerx, that is conducive, and then working with a group of, spirited, talented folks, you're tapping into an environment that by its nature moves quickly.
That's it for episode 141 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Kelly Stratton-Feix, John Coglianese, and Captain Barron Stone in learning about Sofwerx, ThunderDrone, and fast-tracking UAS innovation for the military. I want to thank Kelly, John, and Captain Stone for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about Sofwerx, ThunderDrone, or connect with the ecosystem, check out the webpage at sofwerx.org, and it's spelled SOFWERX.org. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $1 per month, you can help defray the cost of production. To donate, go to patreon.com/Drone Radio Show. Thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.